humanity is the product of human seeding 3, which occurred 850,000 years ago. So we're from human seeding 3, pretty much. Now, okay, so now what I'm going to do, if you guys want to understand the history of what happened, 5.5 million years, 2 human seeding, 1 being wiped out, 2 being seeded, and then 3, which was 850,000 years ago. A lot of history is in there, and you can read that history in The Secrets of Amenti. Okay? If you haven't read The Secrets of Amenti, if you're here, I know you have The Secrets of Amenti. And if you haven't read it, I just want to say that there's no literature on the planet currently that has the most accurate historical information in terms of humanity and what happened to us and where we came from than that book. So I strongly urge everyone to read it. I'm going to skip that history between 5.5 million years and I'm going to go to 155,000 years ago, 155 BC, okay, which would be about 157,000 years ago. Now, I'm going to go there because I want to talk about the Illuminati and how they were created. Now, the Illuminati races were created because there were very genuine Anunnaki souls who had, Anu Elohim soul essence in them, right? Who wanted their 12th strand back. So they entered Emerald Covenant in the soul plane and agreed, with guardians to enter into a biological planet in order to interbreed with the angelic human tribes. And over time, they would, when you interbreed when you're a fallen race and you interbreed with the angelic humans, you create a whole different race line. And then you would incarnate into that race line progressively until you build your 12th strand. And then you can ascend out of time through Lyra, is the idea. So the Anu Elohim souls who earnestly wanted their 12th strand incarnated for a bioregenesis program that was supervised by an Anunnaki entity called Thoth. I speak a lot about Thoth. I'm sure you guys know. So Thoth back then was actually trusted by the founders, and the guardians in the lower timelines didn't really know, because when the Wesadek beings cut us off from our Christos selves, the last thing we knew that Thoth was faithful to the Christos founders races. So we didn't know, and we didn't have a way to connect with our avatar selves to let us know. So Thoth was doing a lot of stuff, sneaky stuff, and he allied himself with the Enlil and Enki plan, which was to dominate humanity and take over the halls of Amenti pretty much. So he was commissioned by the Syrian High Council to supervise this incarnation bioregenesis program for these Anu Elohim souls. But, you're an Anu Elohim with 11 strands. You can't just incarnate into angelic human bodies, right? So you have to create some kind of form to incarnate into. Now, the form that was created by the Thothian Anunnaki was pretty much, it was the Neanderthal. And the way that this is where the Neanderthal fits into our history, by the way. We don't come from the Neanderthal. And this explains why and how they mysteriously just appeared. Now, the Neanderthal was created, back then they were called the Ululu Levi when they were first created. They were created by taking angelic human DNA coding, mixing it with Anunnaki DNA coding, and 2 ape strains, one from Earth and one from Nibiru. Remember, Nibiru used to be in our solar system, and they hijacked its orbit. But we used to have 12 planets, not the 9 that you see. So they took an ape strain from Nibiru, Earth, mixed it with angelic human and Anunnaki gene, and they created the Ululu Levi, the Neanderthal. Now, when this happened, this is when the Anu Elohim souls started incarnating into these Neanderthals, so that over time they can interbreed under Emerald Covenant with the angelic human race, and then they would progressively look more and more like angelic humans, and they would get their 12th strand back. But they would be a different race, right? This is why we have so many different races. So the Elulu Levi and the Thothian Anunnaki, instead of going along with the Emerald Covenant as they agreed, they pretty much had an agenda, and they started creating war sentience in essence, and training these Neanderthals to raid angelic human tribes, murder the men, the children, rape the women, force them to rear and bear the child pretty much. And over time, they progressively look more and more like us. Now, you're not going to be raping angelic humans and getting your 12th strand back that way. It has to be done in a wholesome Christic way. And at that time, that was around the time they cut us off from the D11 and D12 frequency. So we weren't even getting the D12 frequency, which is the reset frequency to clear out distortions in the DNA and stuff. So we were literally sitting ducks, getting preyed upon by these fallen angelics for a very long time. Now, this event in our history was very traumatic for the humanity's sacred feminine. A lot of women, imagine being a woman back then, right? An angelic human woman or a Magi Grail line woman. And that you're contributing to the destruction of your planet, and you're being forced to do it. So this caused a lot of trauma in the sacred feminine psyche, humanity's sacred feminine psyche, which we're still clearing and dealing with today. Not to mention other times in our history, like the Iani massacre, where the Anunnaki took a lot of Magi Grail line women who had high angelic human coding to Nibiru and raped them pretty much to create other race lines. Now, when this happened, progressively as the Elulu Levi started raiding angelic human tribes and looking more and more like us, what they were in fact doing was replacing the original angelic human tribes. They were literally stealing race identities one by one. And this was called the Leviathan invasion in our history. The Leviathan Illuminati bloodlines come from this, they originate from this big mess right here. And this created more distortions, all the raping and stuff, not only in our genetics, but even in their genetics, it created way more distortions. Now, I'm going to go from 157,000 years, and I'm going to go to 25,500 years ago. 25,500 years ago was when the Lucifer Rebellion took place. And what the Lucifer Rebellion was all the competing Anunnaki races, like the Jehovian Anunnaki, the Thothian Anunnaki, the Marduk race lines, the Enlil, Enki race lines. There's one more, the Galactic Federation, they're Anunnaki groups too. All these competing race lines united in an event called the Luciferian Rebellion, and they declared war on the founders and on angelic humans on Gaia, Tara, and Earth. Okay, so this was the Luciferian Rebellion. And when this happened, and I'll talk about this in the continuation class, which I usually do on Sundays. And, I talk about alien technology and stuff like that. When the Luciferian Rebellion happened, our Earth got tangled in what's called the net. It's Niberian electrostatic transduction field, pretty much, or net. Our galaxy and our Earth got entangled in that, and they've been progressively been able to recycle our souls because of this event also, and keep us literally in a consciousness prison. So the Luciferian Rebellion happened 25,500 years ago. Now I'm going to go to 9,500, I'm sorry, 570 BC. And that event pretty much was the Atlantean invasion. And in the Atlantean invasion, what they did was they used scalar pulse technology, trying to invade the inner Earth portals, which they'd never been able to do, by the way. Now, for millions of years, they've tried to invade the inner Earth portal, and they haven't succeeded. One thing I want to mention is, remember I was telling you, because some of you indigos might pick up on this, I was telling you how we incarnate over here, and then, 6 of us go to Earth, and then 6 to parallel Earth. Well, with indigos, it's slightly different, because they have a pair of themselves here in inner Earth. So if you're having experiences like you're dealing with the halls of Amenti, or just like these inner Earth experiences, you more than likely are an indigo, and you're connecting with your identities that are in inner Earth, because indigos have twins, and you have a pair here, a female and a male presence. And if you do that, that would be called the indigos in inner Earth. Your virgins in inner Earth are the Eoni Council, and the Eoni Council come from the ascended master levels. They come here from Rishi. So when they started shooting scalar pulses into the Earth's crust, in order to attack the inner Earth portal, they failed. But what they successfully did, because they're bozos and they miscalculated, the net got ruptured. The net that we got entangled in the Lucifer rebellion got ruptured enough where it poked a lot of holes and made it look like Swiss cheese, which allowed a lot of souls to actually escape the Anunnaki net. And what this also did was it allowed guardian races to immediately come in. They had a way to come in now, because these bozos ruptured their net. They came in and they got as many angelic human tribes as they could, and they took them into the inner Earth portal. And this is where the legends of the Native Americans come from, where they talk about the ant people. They came in and they took them into inner Earth, and then they brought them back to Earth after the waters and stuff, because a flood happened then. So, after the waters receded, they seated them back on Earth, but, they came up to, I think it was the 4th or 5th world is what they say. So this is where you get those legends from. And when this happened, this was actually a good thing, because it backfired on the Anunnaki, and it allowed a lot of us to escape. And according to the Guardians, the net still looks, like Swiss cheese. So it's not like they repaired much of it afterwards. Maybe they came up with other methods. There are like soul capturing devices. They're like the tunnel that you see, that's actually technology. It'll interface with the belief system of the individual. So it'll give the Christian a Christian heaven and the Muslim a Muslim heaven, but these aren't heavens, they're detention centers, and then they recycle you, right? So when you're dealing with the hijacking of souls, what's happening is that these universes that I'm talking about, okay, when I talked about this universe, and then it had an antiparticle double, we're the feminine universe, then it has a masculine. The reason why we don't see each other, even though we're in the same space, is because of the particle rotational spin on a molecular level, on a subatomic level. Everything has a Merkaba. So the spin on the subatomic levels and the particle levels, that spin is what causes the universes to not see each other. Even though they're in the same space, they're spinning in different Merkaba spins, so they become invisible to each other, right? Now, when you progressively do Archangel Michael, Metatron frequencies, remember there's 3 frequencies messing with us right now. One, the organic one is not messing with us. That's our true us. But we have 2 other frequencies coming in. We have one from Phantom. We have one from Wisadek. These frequencies are in all life. They're vying for the takeover of Earth, and that's why they're all here anchored on Earth at this time. So when you're consciously pulling in the Metatronic frequencies that's currently on Earth, so is the organic one, and so is the phantom one, right? You're consciously pulling this in. You're making your Merkaba spin in the direction that their universe spins, that their false universe spins. So upon dropping the body, you align yourself with that universe. Okay? I always say that it's actually easier for an atheist to ascend than it is for someone who's consciously calling in the Metatronic or Archangel Michael frequencies. And the reason why is because right now with the plasma fields coming and anchoring into our Earth, and it's going through the Christic people and through their DNA, and it's supporting the Earth's grid, that is going to support everyone's Merkaba. It's going to fix what plasma does is just bypass alien machinery, and it gradually helps the spin of your Merkaba spin in the Christic way. Okay? So an atheist doesn't believe in God. They're not consciously pulling in any frequencies. They're just kind of going along with the flow of the Earth's grid, right? So they're good. But those who are, and that's why the New Age is so popular. The New Age was completely created by the Galactic Federation. Why do you think they created it? Why do you think they have channeled teachers? They want people's Merkaba to spin in their direction. You guys are valuable to them. You are source energy, literally. When this flood happened, right? When they did this flood, the Anunnaki took off planet their chosen ones. There were a race called the Anu Melchizedek back then, the Leviathan Illuminati bloodlines. They took them off planet, literally drowned the rest of us. And see, there was 3 floods, and these 3 floods in our history were the 3 times that it was a force biologically and environmentally induced memory wipe. And the way that they were able to orchestrate that is when you force a planet to pole shift, what happens is that the electromagnetic frequency of the planet abruptly plummets. You have an electromagnetic field around you too that corresponds with the Earth's electromagnetic field. You call it your aura. The electromagnetic field around the Earth, that's the Earth's aura, right? It corresponds with one another. Matter of fact, Russian scientists, when they started sending their astronauts to, outside of Earth's atmosphere, the first time they did it, their astronauts killed each other. They literally went crazy in space and murdered each other. You can actually Google this. The Russians developed a belt that created a synthetic electromagnetic field, that can be placed around the human's bodies so you don't lose your freaking mind, right? When you force a planet to pole shift, and that abrupt drop of electromagnetic frequency erases the species memory, because our thoughts are magnetic and electric. It's really that simple. The Tower of Babel incident too, I made posts about that. That was another one of these events. The reason they call it Babel is because we were literally babbling. And after they erased our memories, they started teaching us language. So we went from being right-brained, the feminine intuitive side, to being more left-brained, right? Now, I have a question, because they didn't only erase our memory, but they also erased the memory of the Illuminati races that they created and had here. They took their chosen ones off planet and then brought them back after, they drowned us and wiped our memories. But why would they want the Illuminati children to lose their memory too? Can anyone tell me that really quickly? No,
to see if they would have lost compassion again.
What'd you say, Trista?
To see if they would have lost compassion again.
Well, no, that wasn't necessarily it. Of course, I mean, it makes a species start all over, right? They have to remember things and everything. But the real reason was, remember when I told you that when the Lulu Levi was created in 155 BC, they created them with angelic human DNA. which had the diamond sun, portions of the diamond sun, right? We have the full diamond sun. They have portions of it. And they put Anunnaki DNA and then 2 ape strands from, planet Earth and planet Nibiru, right? So what this meant was that the Illuminati children had Anunnaki DNA in them. And that meant that the Anunnaki who exist here could have DNA access to our stargates if they erase both memories, the angelic humans and the Illuminati. And then what did the Lord say after the flood, guys? This is in Genesis 6. Who knows the Bible? In Genesis 6, what did Jehovah say?
Go and be fruitful.
Right. So he told them to go and be fruitful because they literally wanted people to start sleeping together. This is a way to take over by genetic right the stargates of a planet over a long period of time. All the Anunnaki had to do was erase our memories and the Illuminati races that were on planet. And then after that, they modified our women's DNA. Our women used to ovulate every 3 years, not the every 30 days that's going on now. That's unnatural, and that's because of DNA manipulation. So they wanted our women to have babies at hyperspeed for the year 2000 when the stargates open. If they can speed up as many people as possible and they can get their DNA into as many people as possible, then they would have access of the halls of Amenti stargates. They just had to keep us stupid for 13,000 years. And they've been doing an amazing job at keeping us stupid for 13,000 years. This is why they couldn't take us out, because if you take out the angelic human species, the stargates will close forever. The Earth will go into pole shift. Everything will get locked down. Nothing can go in and out. So they couldn't wipe us out. They had to erase our memory and keep us stupid for 13,000 years, because organic human biology is the only thing that opens up the halls of Amenti. And the halls of Amenti opened between the year 2000 and the year 2017. They started chemtrailing us with smart dust for about 2 decades. They figured, okay, by the time these humans open up the halls of Amenti, we won't need them anymore. So we might as well put these smart dust in them so we can turn them into transhuman, because we won't need them anymore. This was supposed to be the 6th and final extinction of mankind. There was actually 5 human extinctions. I talked about 3, but there was actually 5. This would have been the 6th. Okay. But the Guardians stopped it in the year 2012. Now, the fact that, I want you to use your imagination here. The fact that we were invaded 13,000 years ago, and the 3rd memory wipe was in the Tower of Babel, where everyone started babbling. Because each time they did that, there was enough people. There were beings coming from inner Earth and bringing back the truth. So the 3rd time, the Tower of Babel was literally, that was it. That's when we completely forgot that we were the guardians of the planet. And then the way that they started taking all our ancient buildings, angelic human, they find stuff like under the oceans and they don't know who built them or how they even got there. That's because the alien technology missed those parts. But the way that they were able to take everything out is by sound technology. It's called trumpet technology. That's why the same way that they took out the Twin Towers. There's a lot of comments talking about it was explosives and stuff like that. But the physicist is telling you that it's impossible for explosives to turn 3 buildings into dust. Okay, that does not happen. I don't care how much explosions you use. You're going to have massive debris. You're going to have a mountain full of debris, and there was nothing but dust. Nothing we have can do that. Okay, so this is how they turned everything to dust. This is why we don't have much to go off here, except some of the rare finds and deep in the oceans and stuff like that. And they started teaching us false history after that. And we, this technology I'm talking to you on, they're trying to convince us that this is evolution, that we evolved to this point. And all the technology around us is based on Metatronic depth science. It's actually a form of spiritual the biospiritual harvesting. These frequencies that all this emits harvests us, and we don't even know it. And that's why they have us swimming in dirty electricity and 5G and stuff like that. And they progressively always suppress organic technology. You see, why do you think that they build telephone wires over our heads? You know, they would rather spend millions of dollars when storms happen and it knocks down these poles. They keep rebuilding them and keeping them over our heads. Why? So we don't all meet each other in dream time like we used to. Okay. Now, they could easily put those wires and poles underground where weather can't ever mess with them, and they won't have to spend money on it to keep repairing it, right? Why don't they do that? They want it over our heads. Why did they create this as a weapon against us? You know, that's literally what it was created. When they designed this, they were like, okay, in the future, we need it to be a weapon against humanity. So this is how the Thothian Anunnaki think, and I'm not over-exaggerating in the least bit here. Every country that you see has been brought to its present state by the Anunnaki and the Illuminati. Every single major country that you see for the big showdown when the stargates opened, everyone was in position. Okay? None of this is evolution. We're all being tricked, and we're constantly being tricked. And anyone here who believes in Trump, I don't even understand how a man like Trump can come and mess up the Anunnaki's plan that's been literally in progress for millions of years to take over the halls of Amenti. How is someone like Trump going to do that? Trump instead, think of him like, okay, well, the Anunnaki invaded the United States to take over the Sarasota Stargate in Florida. Okay? They wanted to position themselves 300 years ago. They came up with an idea to invade America for the future. They wanted America to be the military capital. They wanted London to be the financial capital, and they wanted the Vatican to be the religious capital. Okay? They were all positioned there on purpose. America wasn't invaded because pilgrims wanted land and they were trying to get away from the British and all that. That's all bullshit. In higher parts of government back there, it was motivated by the Thothian Anunnaki to take over, literally to take over that one Stargate, the Sarasota Stargate, and to make sure that America becomes the military capital of the world in the future when the Stargates open. So everything you think you know about history is completely wrong. Literally, every single thing is completely wrong. And this is what I would like you guys to wake up to, because when you understand that, when you look at television, what you will see is actors. You won't see real human beings. You'll see people trying to fool you. You know, when you understand that this has happened to you, you will understand that everyone is positioned there on purpose. Another thing that no one has taken in consideration is that we have these things called astral bodies, mental bodies, etheric bodies, what else? Hova bodies. There's 6 bodies. I never can remember them all. But no one takes into consideration that the Anunnaki place implants in the astral bodies and mental bodies of our politicians. Not only do they have genetic access to them, but they're implanting them very heavily, because the souls that are in these politicians are them. They're the Anu Elohim souls. They're the Anunnaki souls, you see. So they implant them and everything, and it's a way of beings in these dimensions here, in these higher dimensions, literally using our politicians as puppets to create a show for angelic humanity that we've been falling for forever. Okay, it's literally time to let it go. It's all a scam. Everything is a scam, because the reason why we even exist in this particular time is to reclaim the Stargates. This is why the Palladorians time traveled, and when they time traveled, that event was called the Christos Realignment Mission. The Christos Realignment Mission was in progress for 550 million years. And it was aborted and it failed in our lifetimes in the year 2004. Okay, now we're on Plan B, which I'll talk about in the other meeting. But this is the seriousness of it. It's really about letting go of the news, letting go of what they tell you. When it comes to governments, military, banking, all those are Anunnaki models. They did not exist before the invasion. That is not how we lived, guys. We didn't live like that. That's not in our nature. Those are all Anunnaki models. That's how they live in their phantom matrix. Okay.